Hi, welcome to COEX Talk. My name is Ana Torres, and this is Maria Treviño. We are part of COEX community, and we have here Natalia Dueñas. She's going to be talking about climate activism in an apathetic society. So if you can just tell us a little bit about you, we'd love to hear a little bit more about how you started this and what you do, and a little bit of the organization itself.
Okay, awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. My name is Natalia Dueñas. I am an environmental science student at UTEP. And the organization that I'm a part of is the Green Team. So the Green Team started, I think, well, before I even was at UTEP, I believe. It was started by students that really wanted for UTEP to be more sustainable and a greener campus. Her name is Fernanda Lugo, I believe. And she kind of started the Green Team. And we are focused on writing proposals to get funded from the Green Fund, which is $3 from every student's tuition. And then we write proposals to make like green initiatives.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that this existed.
Yeah,
No.
so there's like a big pool of money where all UTEP students or UTEP faculty can write a proposal, and then the Green Fund Committee decides if they fund it.
So let me ask you
wow.
real quickly, what kind of
Yes.
things do you, like what kind of proposals, what kind of projects do you put on your proposals?
So last year, the proposal that we focused on was an Earth Week kind of event. So we held every day, kind of like today is Water Day, tomorrow is Energy Day, Sustainable Shopping Day. And then we had like a big Earth Fiesta, and we gave out a vegan meal. I think it was vegetarian that time. A vegetarian meal for all students that wanted to participate as well. And also like little goodie bags, like sustainable goodie bags. It was a reusable totes and then a straw. And you just have to go to the event to get it. So that was one. We've also had our past president, Melinda, she wrote one for our bike stations. So it's like a bike repair station that's right next to the classroom building, and you can put air in your tires and then like put it up so you can fix it. So that's
awesome.
That is awesome, especially because it's so hard to find that.
I know. And then also we had the water refilling stations. So there was one written to change the water fountains to water refilling stations where you can just put your water bottle, because it's easier, and well, you use less plastic bottles that way.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
That's awesome, Natalia. I forgot to mention that I studied environmental building design, and a lot of people don't know here why it is so important that we teach our community about water, land conservation, energy, and this is such a great way to engage the students out there. Could we join if we weren't students?
Yes, definitely. Yes, so all students can be a part of it. And then, well, usually when we have events, like what we used to have hikes before COVID, and that was open to the community. We also had like community service days, and we would go to the One Grub, was it called One? Yes,
yeah, I know.
I don't remember what it's called, but
I think it's
yes, we used to do Grub. Yeah. Oh, yes. No, no, One Grub, the community garden.
Yes, the one that's on the east side. Is that on the east side?
But we used to do like gardening there too. It's because I live in Juarez, so I don't really know like the east or west.
Okay.
But
So today we're here because we're talking about activism in an apathetic society. Tell us a little bit more about that, why you picked that topic first, and then what is the concept of that?
Okay, so
Why does it matter to you, this topic? Because I know for us it matters a lot, but why? It's like a way of telling people why they should care about this.
So I think it started when I used to tell my dad kind of like, well, we shouldn't use like the plastic bags from the supermarket, and he would just be like what, it doesn't make a difference, like why would you want to do this, and what are we going to use at home, like when we're for trash bags and stuff. And then I'm like, well, we can make bags out of newspaper, or we could just like clean the trash cans like it's a can. But he was just like, oh, I don't understand like why you want to do this. And then I also started telling my friends. I remember my friends from high school, I told them like, oh, well, we're at your house, like why are you drinking from a water bottle, like what, wouldn't you want to drink like from a glass, like the water from your house? And she's like, the water is already the bottle was already made, like why should I even care?
Oh my God.
Like, I hate that answer.
I know. And I was just like, well, like these people don't care. And I think that I wanted to understand why they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I realized that I won't understand why they don't care unless I like conduct a real deep study with some psychologists or something. So I think I decided that I wanted to learn how I could make them care.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that a bunch of times, sometimes just like yelling at the person and telling them like, no, like you're destroying the earth, this is horrible, like what are you doing to our home, like that is not well received, and they don't like that, and that's not their behavior.
Because I'm so guilty of that.
We learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then they just like, sometimes they even like, I'm gonna use it more because you don't like that, so it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
So I remember that my mentor from the university, he said, well, we just have to learn how to communicate this message to people more effectively. So I think that I've learned that people learn by example. So if you always have your straw, your paper, your cups, your I use my reusable totes, and I try to carpool and all of that. So I think that people started to learn the message after they saw me doing it instead of me like telling them.
Yeah.
So just a little story. I remember like a year ago when the Amazon was burning up, and I kept on posting all these things, and then he's not my friend, but it's a person I know. He was like, "Oh, there you go, crazy. You're always like posting stuff. I'm gonna delete you." And I got hostile. Like, I noticed that I got really hostile because I responded something like, "Well, go ahead, delete me. I don't need people like you in my Instagram that don't care." And so later on, I think I posted another thing like a year later or something, and he still remembered that I yelled at him on Instagram. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I am just becoming hostile just because I receive a lot of negative comments about caring for the planet as well. That it was a way of me like responding to that negativity. And I realized that I was becoming just like them. Like what I didn't like about people, I was doing it to people as well. And then I realized that the lack of communication is, as you say, it's the key to really have an impact on people.
Yeah, and did people really understand, like, when you tell them positively, and instead of, oh, you're killing the earth, it's like, well, maybe we'll live a little bit longer if you don't do this, or if you do this other thing.
Something I noticed as well is that the people that we're less patient with is our family members, because I guess we live with them, we're next to them, and we see them. And I just want to punch them in the face sometimes. It's like, why are you eating this? Why are you buying that? And it's really hard for me to be patient when you're studying so much this and you know it and the science is there and people just don't care. Or sometimes I think it's maybe that their level of consciousness is not as high as yours, and you have to like kind of like come back and remember that you were once that person.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I remember when I didn't care this much, so maybe I could be a little bit more patient or something, because I've noticed that people, so I constantly post things on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere, and that's like basically all I'm talking about all the time. So a lot of people know that I love the environment, and I'm a strong advocate for it. So I've noticed that people even around me, sometimes they don't want to like purchase certain things, or if they go to my house, they know that they have to like bring their own like little cup if it's gonna be like a reunion or something, because like they know, and I like that, and because they show that they know that you care. So if at least when they're with me they don't do these things, then I feel like there's at least a little change. And as an advocate, I really like it when people send me a message like, look, I bought my reusable straw, and then I'm like, you are feeding the earth.
You're the best,
like,
Superman.
I love it. I think it really
It
warms
makes
my
your
heart.
day.
It's funny because I think we all like kind of live that, where we try to educate not just our family but everyone around us. And it's true, like there's my coworkers, they're like, oh, I'm not going to ask for a straw because I know that you don't like a straw. I mean, obviously COVID has changed that a bit, but there's people that will have their stainless steel like straw now, but most of them are like, I'm sorry, but with COVID, I'm going to, and I'm like, it's okay. I mean, I understand, but I might just bring you a stainless steel straw next time. But it is true. Like, because of the way you live, people are starting to understand and trying to make those little changes, at least when they're with us, which I think it's a lot better than them not doing it at all. So I think we're still kind of on a good path to where we want to be at. So
yeah. And I just speaking like about the Apathetic Society, I think that the way that we get people to care is people care about people. So if you are the person that they care about, so they don't do those things around you, and then they turn into somebody that's crazy about the environment, and then the people around them will do things that that will hurt like what they believe in. So that way we can all just become all earth nuts.
It's like what we call in Spanish una cadenita, like it's like a string of people. Yes.
So Natalia, how old were you when you started caring about the environment?
Well, I'm ashamed to say that not that young. So
look at us, we're older than you. Probably you were younger than us when we started this movement.
So I think I started to care like really strongly about the environment after I had a public speaking class, and I remember that they made us talk about something that we cared about, and I think that I just had to convince people to do something. So that was something that I wanted to do. And I was like, okay, I'll talk about the environment and how we could use less plastic. And then I learned more and more about like the plastic gyres in the ocean. I was like, what is going on? I was freaking out because in my family, we used to be like those people who went to Walmart and bought like those big water bottle, like 24. Oh, no. I remember those days.
Yeah.
And then up from that semester, I think that I believe like 19. And I said, oh, this is not like, I used to be studying cell molecular biochemistry. And then I was like, okay, I'll study environmental science. I'll change the world. And then I think that's when everything in my life changed.
Yeah, it happened to me very similar.
Did you change your major too?
I even quitted my life. Like I was studying architecture and I did my thesis on ecosystems and how architecture and the built environment disrupt ecosystems. And it all started because I hate zoos and I was going to design a zoo that opposes the learning process of people with animals. Like, and the zoo kind of zoo. And that's how, like, I loved animals, but then that back then it didn't make sense. Buildings, animals, aren't they the opposite? So I started reading one thing after the other, and I got super concerned. And just like you, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I got anxiety, depression, all the things you call it. And then I decided to quit, and I quitted my job. I moved back to El Paso. I moved to Philly to study environmental building design, and so all these similar things. Yeah. So it's been quite a journey. It's like from architecture, I'm moving to agriculture.
Big shift.
But it's such a beautiful journey, even though it's painful, because once you become conscious, you can't even, sometimes I don't even enjoy food anymore because it's like, oh my gosh, if it's not grown sustainably, then probably the process is this, and then you're like, oh, sometimes I just want to like be human and not care. But
yeah, and I think for me, it's not that much with food, but I used to be very a big shopper.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yes, and I stopped going to a bunch of stores, and I remember that my parents were like, don't you want to go to this store? And then I'm like, no, that's fast fashion. I don't purchase fast fashion anymore. And then my dad was like, you used to love that store. And then I'm like, people can change, okay?
Yeah.
That's still something that I'm still struggling a little bit about. Like, I'm huge in like clothes and shoes.
Gosh, yes.
It's something that I'm. It's probably one of my biggest problems, but that's where I'm really trying to change. But I remember I used to live in Juarez too, and there's not much recycling in Juarez. So I used to I remember I would go and grab all the paper from all of my different trash cans, and then I put it in a bag, and then all of the bottles, because they would refuse to not drink from the bottles, and I would grab all of them. And then I worked here, so I would bring all of my recyclables, and they would look at me so weird in the border. They're like, why do you have so much trash in your car? And I'm trying to recycle. I'm so sorry, but we're not that good in Juarez, so I'm trying to bring our I would bring so much trash. It was literally bags of trash to try to recycle. So I mean, I've always been trying to be a little bit more conscious on that end. But again, unfortunately, we're not perfect. And just like Marifer says, it's sometimes it's just tiring because you're constantly thinking, oh, well, it's I can't buy this because this, and oh, it's I can't eat this because this, and oh, this is creating so much emission and this. So it's like it's kind of like a constant fight in between what should I do, what should I not do, and there's times that you really don't have an option but be kind of bad, and I'm trying not to be bad at all.
That's the key, to try.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's
and
gonna
I
be
think
perfect.
that's what a lot of people don't understand, that they don't have to change from 0.0 to 100%. Like that's not how it works.
Process.
Exactly.
It's a
So
process.
that's why I tell everyone, it's baby steps. It's baby steps. Don't do the coffee mug. Just do that. That can be your first change. Like those that are buying a coffee or two per day, you can be doing that small little change to where you take your cup, they can serve it in there, and guess what? Like in a week, you are literally like trying not to spend all of those like 7 to 14 different cups that are going into our landfill. So that's where I think this whole it really relates to this empathetic society, to where, like you said, it's about communication. It's not about like changing from one day to the other one, but really teaching them and educating them that one little change can make a big difference.
Yeah, and also, as you said, kind of like you struggle with the clothes, and maybe I think I struggle with the food. I love cheese.
Yes, we love cheese.
We all do.
Cheese is wonderful. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, like maybe not today, cheese. But I once read kind of like, cheers to those who are vegan, but maybe they have to fly a lot of miles. Cheers to those that they use their reusable cup, but maybe they can't give up smoking. So it's kind of like everybody has what they do, what they know that they've given up, like Forever 21 and like H&M and all of those big fast fashion brands. That is kind of like, oh, I really like that blazer, it looks really cool, and maybe you buy that blazer, but that week maybe you don't purchase red meat, and it's kind of like that big balance, and I think that the society will become less apathetic when they learn that it's not like what you said, 0 to 100. It's kind of like 1, 2, 3, probably 3, 2 again, and then 3,
and then
4.
You go back like 2,
exactly.
and then I agree.
But also, I think one problem of this society is that we've changed because we have studied this. Like we have focused our energy and attention to it, and the reality of the situation here is that a lot of people haven't, and so because you have the ability to study and to read and you pay attention to it, you have all the facts. So sometimes it's almost like if you were given the task, like, I'm going to throw this information, do with it the most you can. And so I feel that's the problem with this apathetic people, is that they haven't sit down and read all these things that we have. And it took me 2 master's degrees to get here. It wasn't. And now it's like, I needed all this in order to become this person now. And yes, I need it, but then the other people are not focusing on this. So it is our responsibility to provide this type of education to these people. But it's also like a big task, because sometimes you do want to yell to these people, and you shouldn't, and you can't.
But we've been learning.
We're learning. Or sometimes people yell at me just because I'm doing this, and I'm like, hey, you keep on doing your trash, leave me alone, not trying to do mine.
It's sometimes I think that yelling is legitimate. Like you can, if somebody's like maybe chopping down a tree in an area that's like,
I can't see that.
No, so like I think that the response level is due to the action. So like if the action is like very severe, maybe your reaction can be very severe, because I guess that's the point of how we communicate with people who don't know or don't care, because we don't know if it's because they don't know or if because they're actually ignoring what they know.
Yeah. And let me tell you this story really quickly. When I was studying environmental building design, one of my best friends from the program, Namita, she knows her, we took this Uber, because there I didn't have a car. You can walk to the school, but then sometimes you wake up late and need to take an Uber. So we were driving in this, like, this Uber picked us up, and then he asked us like, oh, so what are you guys girls studying? And we were like, environmental building design, because suddenly you feel like the power is within you because you're studying this. And then environmental building design. And then he was like, oh, really? So what's that? We're evaluating the built environment, looking at energy, blah, 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 all these carbon emissions and then sustainability and all these things. Wow, girls, you're doing an amazing job. And then, yes, but the most important thing is that we're doing it for the future generations. And then this man was kind of old and he was like, I'm so glad you guys are sharing this with me, because I am a grandfather to, I don't remember how many kids. And he's like, it's the first time that someone makes me think about them, because I know I will not be here and they will. And you are right. What kind of world am I leaving to my grandkids? So thank you. And so we were like, no, thank you for listening and being patient and being open to hear us. And that's because we were not imposing him these things, but because we were sharing our passion. And so when we came out of the Uber, we were like, hell yeah, a high five, we did it. and that's the key, communication and connection.
Yeah, and sometimes you get like that type of reaction, which is really good. But I'm going to tell like a really quick story that I had the completely opposite reaction. I told my friend kind of like what type of world would you be leaving for your daughters or your granddaughters? And then she said, I'm too young to be thinking about my daughters or granddaughters. And then I'm like, wow, like you just can't be saved. And
you're like, wow, I hope a hurricane takes you.
And when we're gonna have to use SPS 3000 because we're gonna be dying of heat. But I think that some people will receive the message really well, like you said, and some will just I don't know, surprise you. But the positive ones are the ones that stick with you too, because I know that a lot of people like reach out when they like, but what can I do? So like, oh, I changed my shampoo to this, like what now, what's next? And I love that.
Yeah. And you see them excited and you get excited as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
Especially because they get back with you and they're like, oh, look, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm changing. And that's where you say, okay, at least I made this one difference with this one person.
Yes.
So yeah.
There's a song that I love. What's her name? I forgot the name. It's called It Matters to Me, and the song says like it's about like people feeling like they don't matter to anybody, and the singer Sarah Bareilles, I don't know if that's how you say her.
Oh yeah.
And she says it matters to me. So sometimes you just have to show people that you care and they'll care with you.
Organically.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Natalia, for being here with us, for sharing your space, your time with us. Compitas, I don't know if you want to say something.
Well, if you can just go ahead and let us know if there's anything or any events that we can be part of. We would love to be able to work with you guys, obviously. And I mean, if do you have anything else you'd like to share, anything that you think might be educational or helpful for anyone that's actually watching us and they're they're kind of in the process of doing the changes that we want them to do.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you'd like us to pretty much put out there?
I think that just my tip would be to follow kind of like zero waste or zero plastic type of ads on Instagram. They have really good tips and posts, and then just kind of sustainable accounts on Instagram.
Yeah.
I think that's my most educated, because there you'll know what to do. And your friends, if they care, will also tell you what to do. We don't have any events as of yet. But if we do have any, I'll be sure to share it with you guys, so you guys can share it with the community too.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for inviting me. This was really cool.
It's really cool to meet people like you.
Yes. Because you're so young too. Like, believe me, we need people that are younger, because then the ones that are even younger than you need to like learn about all of this. So that's where we want to be able to make that difference. So the fact that you are making this difference at such a young age is actually great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys soon, hopefully.
Yes. Keep in touch, please.
Yes.
Will do.
Thank you.
Bye.